Hello everyone, welcome to Sundays with Sean. I am Sean, today is Sunday, and today we're going to be talking about pinhole cameras. In the last video we talked about my homemade box cameras, and today it's time to talk about my homemade pinhole cameras. This was the first pinhole camera that I ever built, and since then it has been my favorite. This camera is made out of a project box from Michaels. It shoots 3.5 by 5 paper negatives and has a 1mm pinhole and an f-stop of f128. On the front we have what I like to call a nose because it kind of looks like a nose. This is the lens cap / shutter mechanism. It's built from a PVC pipe and PVC pipe cap. The sides are rounded so we don't have any sight lines there. The back has a small clasp and the top has some horizontal sight lines. As you can see, there's a leather strap that runs all the way around the camera, and I did this to help keep everything light tight. On the inside of the camera there is a 3-chambered system. One chamber to hold unexposed film, the middle chamber to expose the film, and the last chamber to hold the exposed film until I can get home and develop it. As I said before, this camera is one of my favorites and I love shooting with it. So with that in mind, here's one of my favorite photos that I've taken using this camera. Next up is this pinhole camera that is married to a box camera in a little bit of a cat-dog kind of way. This camera is made out of a filing cabinet drawer. That's why there's a handle and some numbers on the front. It shoots a 3.5 by 5 paper negative, has a 0.5mm pinhole, and an f-stop of 180. The left side of the camera has some vertical sight lines, while the top has some horizontal sight lines. Looking inside the camera, we have our 3-chambered system. This is just like the pinhole before it, however, it's arranged a little differently. We have the chambers that hold the exposed and unexposed film just behind the film holder. When I use this camera, I try to use both sides equally. However, I do favor the box camera side, just because it's a little sharper and it just takes such good photographs. So here's one of my favorite photos that I've taken using this camera. If you guys are enjoying this video, you know what to do. Please leave a like, hit subscribe, it would mean the world to me if you did. Much like Taylor Swift and her security guard, this camera and I have some bad blood. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're not on TikTok enough, which is probably a good thing. This camera is made out of a project box from Joann Fabrics, and it has a guillotine style shutter on the front. Left side features some vertical sight lines and the top features some horizontal sight lines. The lid pops off to reveal the film holder on the inside. As you can see, there's no 3-chambered system in this camera. Because of this, I carry around this small container that is split into 2 chambers, again, one to hold the exposed film and one to hold the unexposed film. This camera shoots a 4x4 paper negative and has a 0.5mm pinhole. The reason this camera gives me troubles is because of the dimensions. I've measured this camera to be 105mm wide, which gives us an f-stop of 210. However, my Lightmeter app doesn't have an f-stop of 210. Because of this, I'm forced to shoot a third of a stop above or below what I actually should be shooting at. In addition to this, I think my pinhole calculation is slightly off too. I think the pinhole is actually a little bit larger than what I measured originally. So changes are definitely coming to this camera, but with all of that being said, here's my favorite photo that I've taken using this camera. You might have noticed this coffee cup that's sitting way up there, and you've probably guessed that it's not really a coffee cup. It's indeed a pinhole camera. Now how this camera works is pretty simple. The top lifts off to reveal the film holder, and the sleeve acts as the shutter, sliding up and down. It shoots a 3x3 paper negative and has an f-stop of 144. So far, I've only used this camera once, and there's a few reasons for that. Internally, there is no 3-chambered system, so again, I would have to use an external container like I did with my last camera. And because this is a coffee cup, there's a few areas that has some light leak. But honestly, this is a bit of a novelty camera, and I don't really want to shoot with it more than I have to. It's not really built to be something that can handle a lot of images, and the materials are just not going to hold up over time. This camera is fun and it's stealthy, but really it was more of just a proof of concept versus anything that I'm seriously going to take out in the field and shoot with. I've only taken one photo with this camera, and here is that photo. My obsession with unusual pinhole cameras continue with this camera right here. From the outside, this is a Gnome home, but on the inside, it's a pinhole camera. This camera shoots a 3.5 by 3.5 paper negative, has a pinhole of 0.5mm, and an f-stop of 100. Inside, we've returned to our 3-chambered system. However, this back chamber is too small, so it curves the paper when I put it in there to store it before I can come home and develop it. This is my most recent camera build, so I haven't gotten a chance to shoot with it too much. Here's my favorite photo that I've taken using this camera. So that is all my homemade pinhole cameras. If you guys have any questions about any of the cameras, leave a comment below and I'll be happy to answer them. So thank you for watching, and be kind to one another.